Welcome back. I am David Paulides, and for years, through the Can-Am Missing Project, my life has been consumed by a singular, chilling question. Where do they go? I am talking about the people who vanish without a trace from our wildest, most remote locations. The places where the majesty of nature suddenly gives way to a profound, terrifying void. We call these cases Missing 411. The number 411 is not a code. It is old terminology for information. And that is precisely what is missing. In these deep woods, where the air is thick with the scent of pine and something far older, people step off a path and simply cease to be. The sheer volume of these unexplained disappearances demands attention. We are not talking about simple hiking accidents or getting briefly turned around. We are talking about patterns clustered in locations, often in or around our national parks, that defy every established law of search and rescue. The facts point to something deeply unnatural, perhaps even sinister, operating in the periphery of our reality. The official records are incomplete, intentionally or unintentionally, creating a terrifying blank space on the map. Our deep dive into the Missing 411 started right on the ground. We focused initially on a dark cluster of cases in the high elevations of Colorado. This is where the sheer scale of the enigma first became impossible to ignore. Take the case of Bobby Bicep, a young boy who vanished near a church retreat right on the border of Rocky Mountain National Park. Here one minute, gone the next. The earth seeming to swallow him whole. Then there is the devastating disappearance of Jared Atadero. If you look up the original reports, they often tell a neat story about a mountain lion attack. That is not the truth. I can tell you with 100% certainty, the evidence contradicted the official narrative entirely. There was a profound lack of blood, and the state of the recovered clothing suggested something far stranger than an animal attack. Jared's case is a prime example of a story being forced into a palatable box because the true circumstances are simply too bizarre to handle. The serene silence of these beautiful canyons holds a terrible, dark secret. I have stood by Jefferson Lake, where the air pressure feels heavy, and the trees seem to lean in, and you can sense an unseen presence. These locations seem to function as portals, or perhaps as a cold, calculating hunting ground for something that is not of this world. One of the cases that hammered home the impossible nature of the Missing 411 phenomenon was that of Keith Parkins in far eastern Oregon. A 2-year-old boy playing in his yard who vanished into the vast, lonely landscape. He was found alive nearly 12 hours later, but he was found a terrifying 9 miles away, over 2 mountain ranges and countless obstacles, face down in the snow. How does a toddler, in the dark, traverse 9 miles of brutal, high desert wilderness, crossing fences and steep terrain, only to be deposited, exhausted, but intact, in an impossible location? Was Keith truly alone on that journey? I brought in the best survival expert, Les Stroud, who filmed on location with us. He concluded, "There is no way a child could have done this. I would have walked off a cliff." This is where the natural explanation collapses and the truly horrific questions begin. This phenomenon ignores time, space, and the laws of physics, suggesting a momentary warp in the fabric of reality. It points toward a dimensional rift or a targeted manipulation of the environment that touches down in our wilderness. This force can snatch a person, transport them incredible distances, and then deposit them, often traumatized, into a bizarrely inappropriate spot. My investigation required fighting the system just to get basic information, and one fact became chillingly clear. There is a list. Esteemed investigative journalist George Knapp confirmed this for the Missing 411 movie. The National Park Service possesses a list of missing people, but for reasons they refuse to state, they will not release it. If these were merely hikers who got lost, there would be no reason for the secrecy. Their refusal to comply suggests one haunting possibility. They know there is a pattern, and they want it silenced. The people of the Hoopa Valley and other indigenous communities have known for centuries that something massive, something non-human, patrols those forests. They have their own names for the unexplainable that lurks beyond the light of the fire. But the missing 411 cases present a more complex danger than just a known cryptid. These victims are often found without their shoes, or sometimes found in areas that had been searched and cleared only hours before. The air around these disappearances often carries a strange metallic tang, and the local wildlife falls unnervingly silent. The real threat may not be a simple animal, but an intelligence, a force that uses these wilderness areas as its domain. I believe what we are witnessing with the missing 411 phenomenon is not just a terrestrial mystery. It is an orchestrated, selective act. It is an unseen force that preys on the lost, the young, and the vulnerable. Think of the strange elements that recur, the complete absence of footprints, even on soft ground, the sudden silence reported by witnesses just before the person vanishes, and the disproportionate number of cases occurring at elevations above 7,000 or 8,000 feet. Is the thin air somehow a necessary condition for this force to manifest? Whether the culprit is an entity slipping through a dimensional rift or a cold consciousness that simply manipulates reality, the result is the same. Lives destroyed and a chilling, inexplicable void left behind. Formation. This movement, this quest for the truth behind the missing 411 phenomenon, is not finished. The official narrative is often a comfortable lie, a story to soothe a terrified public. But those of us who have walked the ground, who have seen the documents, we know better. My commitment is to the families, to those who deserve the truth about what happened in the darkness of those woods. So, I ask you to join me. Educate yourself on the bizarre reality that exists just beyond the tree line. Because until we collectively acknowledge that something truly unnatural is at work in our wilderness, the disappearances will continue. And the only information we will ever have is missing 411. Thank you for watching.